Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who just can't quit a man on a different continent. But before we begin...
Love the Brokeback reference.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we are not professionals. We are not trained in any of this. We are only here to offer our humble and spooky musings. Get it?
Love it. Love that we're tying
our
in the
humble
Halloween
and spooky musings. To hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. All right, Sam, what is today's check-in topic?
Our check-in topic is in honor of the upcoming Halloween time. We are going to look at a list on Collider.com that we found of the 10 scarily cute horror movie couples that will make your heart melt.
And we'll rate them.
Yeah, and we'll
to
decide
them.
whether or not our hearts are actually melting about these horror movie couples.
I am a frigid bitch, so yeah.
Okay, well, let's get into it. Okay, so the first one, number 10 out of 10, is Chucky and Tiffany from Bride of Chucky.
First caveat, I do not even remember the last time I've actively and willingly watched a Chucky movie. So my feedback is strictly based off of their costuming, and I will give it an A+. I don't remember anything about, like, I don't know, other than their murderous dolls.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, like, that's basically
that doesn't really
right?
make my heart melt. Do you know what I mean?
They have a very toxic relationship, and they often,
and they, like, fight all the time,
they
right?
fight all the time, like, physically as dolls. And I have also not voluntarily watched a Chucky movie in my entire life, but I have seen many of them because Peter loves horror movies and loves Child's Play.
Yeah.
What I will say, that the thing that is funny to me about the Chucky movies is that Jennifer Tilly plays Chucky's wife.
Oh my God,
right?
love her.
And she's great.
Yeah.
And in the show, like in the movie, there's like a whole thing where she has like also inhabited the body of the actual Jennifer Tilly. Like she has possessed, like this doll has possessed Jennifer Tilly, the actress's body. So she like plays herself being like possessed by a doll, which is just...
That's genius.
It's funny, right? I hate the movies. Like they are not for me. They are not my kind of horror. But I am like, I love the campy outlandishness of it. So like for that reason,
the article,
I'll say, okay, fine.
Okay, fine is a great scale, answer. The article does say Chucky mistreats Tiffany, and Tiffany sometimes does things that results in Chucky's demise, like sawing off his head with a knife. But in the end, these two always find their way back to each other.
Yeah, it's a toxic relationship where they just keep coming back together.
And some listeners will say it's romance.
Some will, and then they'll write us a letter about it, and we'll be like,
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
I love this next one.
Me too.
The next one is Gail and Dewey from Scream. Now, if you could just see me, little Sierra in middle school, walking over to my neighborhood movie rental, VHS rental, and being like, I'm going to get Scream for this sleepover. I remember I had like a spooky sleepover, probably, I don't know, 1997 or something. And we watched Scream. We rented Scream. I was like so mature and pumped. I love Scream. Scream's iconic.
It is iconic.
And I honestly don't even remember the logistics of their relationship, but I'm all about it just because I love Scream.
It's very cute. It is. What I like about it is that like Courtney Cox as Gail in this movie is like a terrible human. Like she's just like, like a tabloid reporter. She's out to get the story. She doesn't care whose neck she has to stand on to get there. But then she like meets this little like boy-faced cop and just like he's like the one thing that like melts her heart and is like helping her to like become a better person, which I like absolutely
adore. And weren't they
adore.
married in real life?
Yeah, I think if they weren't married in real life, they like like maybe met on the set of this. It's like, and so like it's very cute. And also whenever they're like having a romantic moment, this cheesy ass music starts playing that is just like, in comparison to like people's like heads getting chopped off by like garage doors or whatever, like it's just so funny and cute and campy to have these like two people in this like stupid music play whenever they're like talking to each other.
Can you imagine being chased by an actual serial killer in like a Halloween costume and being like, oh my God, is he looking at me? You know, like I want to say that I wouldn't have the capacity to like worry about whether or not I was like fuckable during, you know, something like being chased by a murderer. But like, I don't know. My desire to be desired knows no bounds. Yeah.
That is really real. Also,
like the zombie apocalypse, I'd be like, do you want to date? Or
Also, you know, trauma bonding. It happens.
Yeah. Oh my God, for sure. Moving on.
Okay, so next one is Brad and Janet from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
1,000 out of 10, other than the fact that they should just both date Rocky.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not Rocky,
I do really appreciate that. Like that story is also about them like exploring what it means to be like,
their own.
Like their sexuality, their like understanding of monogamy. Like it is.
Yeah, they are a bisexual, polyamorous, you know, dream.
Absolutely, I'm really into it. I give them a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, me too. And this is your reminder to watch the Rocky Horror Picture Show this Halloween.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this next one is very, very close to my heart. And I love that it's technically a horror movie. It's Seymour and Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors, which is such a good movie rendition of a musical.
It's so good. It's so
good. So good. So iconic. Suddenly Seymour will forever be like the secret karaoke song that I wish I could sing.
It's
Do you know what I mean?
It is absolutely one of the greatest love songs in a musical. It is so good.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Mama left early, or Daddy left early, and Mama was poor. I'd meet a man that I could just do the whole thing. Anyway, I don't really know if I think critically about the health of the relationship. I'm afraid it'll ruin it for me. So I'll just stay over here in like La La Land and say I love this movie. I love this couple. I love the people who fucking play them in the movie. It's so good.
Her voice, her like squeaky little raspy voice.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I'm sorry. What does she say? I'm sorry, doctor. I'm sorry, doctor. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. It's so good.
When she's like apologizing to Steve Martin, her boyfriend, who is a maniacal dentist. Anyway, if you've never seen this, you guys
really
think
have
that we
to see
sound insane, but it's all true.
It's really good.
It is about a plant from space that eats people. So
what's not to love about it? You know what I mean?
What is not to love? Oh my God.
Okay. So 10 out of 10 for those two.
Oh, it's like a 50 billion out of 10 for me.
Okay, great. Okay, Kim and Edward from Edward Scissorhands.
Okay, weirdly into this.
Okay.
Weirdly into this. I think I watched it at an age where I was like superimposing myself on any little heroine or any sort of like lovey storyline.
Oh my God, absolutely. And like a young Winona Ryder, like just the perfect person for you to
Angelic.
like put all of your identity onto.
Angelic, a little awkward. Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
Yeah. It explains a lot. And then, of course, my entire sexuality is explained in me being attracted to Edward Scissorhands. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
Like a little weird, a little dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Socially awkward.
Dangerous, but doesn't
mean androgynous,
to be. You know, just like, just accidentally cuts you when he touches you.
Yep, that's it. I don't know. I can't remember how this ends. Like he runs away, right? Like they can't be together.
I don't remember the end of it, honestly. I just remember Catherine O'Hara.
This is just Sam and I responding to all of these and saying, "Yep, that's great." Yeah, I think it's cute. Remember when he cuts her all those little shrubs, hedges?
It's very cute and like makes them all into sculptures. Yes, it's charming and it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, this is going to be contentious. Up next, from Interview with a Vampire, the movie rendition, Louis and Lestat.
Louis, yes.
Okay, well, I do not speak French. Haven't seen the movie in a minute.
Yeah, like I haven't seen the movie. I will say that like when I watched
this casting, so good.
I mean, the casting is great, and also like it was the '90s, so like they couldn't be like outwardly queer, right? Like they just had to like have all of this like very obvious subtext around it. And I'm into that, and was into that when I saw it because I was like, what is this that's happening here? I think I am into this. I will say that like when I watched the TV show, it was like, oh, this is fun. They're like really sexy vampires, but then they were like so awful to each other in their like awful vampireness that I was like,
that's
oh,
why I said that this is going to be contentious because is it nice to look at two of the most popular and beautiful movie stars of the time playing abundantly queer roles, even if it wasn't? Yes, it's very fun to look at that movie. However, the storyline, the book, the relationship between the two people is not healthy.
Yeah, it's like healthy, really bad.
Not just because they are vampires, not just because one of them like forced the other into a mortal life. Yeah, it's no good. But are they nice to look at? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful men. Okay. So then last one.
We've skipped a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last one that we're going to talk about is Morticia and Gomez from the Addams Family and Addams Family Values.
What did I say earlier? Oh my God. What did I say earlier for Seymour and Audrey? Like I said, like 50 billion out of 10.
Yeah.
Morticia and Gomez, they knock them out of the water.
It's just a perfect relationship.
This is the most supportive, most sensually invigorating. They are in love. They commit to each other. They kill for each other. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Like I will always, what do they say? Stan? Is that what people say on the internet?
I mean, they used to. I don't know if
like
they do anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or ship. Is that another thing?
I ship them, but they're already in a relationship, so you can't say that you ship them because shipping is when you want them to be in a relationship, but they're not in the canon.
I will always love Morticia and Gomez.
Oh, absolutely.
Always.
Wonderful.
Oh my God.
And I
supportive,
just
loving, affectionate, communicative husband. Oh my God. Who's obsessed with his wife.
I just love Angelica Houston, like as like a person. Like I think she has like one of the most interesting faces I've ever seen in my entire life, and like her as Morticia is so wonderful.
To the choir right now,
and especially in that movie where they like every time they show her, they have like the little like box of light on her eyes, and it's just like this is
iconic,
wonderful. You two are absolutely perfect. Change nothing about this.
Angelica Houston as Morticia Addams in that movie is queer culture right there.
I think that's absolutely right. Yes. It's like
there's so much going on that is just so her snipping the rose heads off of the roses.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Her long
I just
red
got
nails.
chills.
The highlight on her. Yeah. Oh my God. And the way she moves, which is like slower and smoother than everyone else.
It's so good.
And she looks so good. And the guy who plays, forgive me, I don't even know his name because Angelica outshines him, but he was like so perfect in like his like glint of crazy. I love this storyline forever.
That's great. I love it.
I also feel like if we're actually rating the health of the relationship, we're talking about a family that is dedicated to one another, who supports all of their own interests, who wants their kids to be happy, and they're weird and they're kooky and whatever the song says, but they love each other for that. Like talk about finding your one true love in and celebrating your weirdness. Oh my God, I just love it. I'm done.
It's so good. And they just like let their kids do and be who they want to be, right? And they're never like trying to correct or like change them. It's just like, oh great, Wednesday you're gonna be like this. Yeah. Cool. Like go for it.
Yeah. All right, that was a fun exercise in my adoration for imaginary characters. Okay, let's dive into today's letter. Today's letter comes to us from Daisy May, whose pronouns are she, her, who's writing to us from the void. Hi, Sam and Sierra. I feel stuck. About a year ago, I started chatting with this guy who I met online. I'll call him G. He lives on a different continent than I do. And our relationship has been exclusively sexual. I tend to jump into friends with benefits / sexual situations very easily, and that's been how I've connected with people the most frequently over the years. I'm about to turn 29 next week, and I've only had one romantic relationship in that time, and really only one close friendship with that ex after we broke up. I started talking to G after I had just gotten out of a sticky, sludgy swamp of a toxic situationship where I had a lot of strong, unrequited feelings. I realized that I could be very codependent, and my self-esteem and body image plummeted to a low that I'd never felt before. It took me about a year and a half to work towards a point where I felt like I deserved to give my time to a person who could appreciate me and wanted me the way I wanted them. Having fun with G was supposed to be a pit stop on my journey to find someone like that. The thing is, I feel very attracted to G. I've been very honest and open with him about parts of my sexuality that I've never been open about with other people before, and he's been very receptive and accepting. I feel a rush of excitement every time I see that he's messaged me, and I think about him all the time. He's honestly kind of flaky about texting me back, but when he does, our conversations are amazing. I know that all of this is surface level, and I deserve someone who I can connect to and get to know and love and be loved on 100 more levels than just a sexual fantasy. But I feel like I can't give up this connection. And I've tried to go on real dates with IRL people that want a real relationship, and then it goes so far and I can't let go of this thing with G, and I feel like it's not fair to the people I've been seeing, so I stopped seeing them and I'm back to where I started. I feel lonely and worried that if I left G behind, I'd never find someone who would accept and appreciate me in all the ways that he does. Thanks, Daisy.
All right, Daisy, thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this question. I know that there are sometimes people in our lives that hold like a certain sway over us. And I'm honestly like happy that you found someone like G where you can experience this level of sexual connection, that you can explore parts of your sexuality that you maybe haven't before because you haven't found the right person, or the people that you've been with haven't been super accepting of it. Like, I think all of that is really good. And I'm glad that you have had this kind of moment in your life to explore this. And I also know that it can be really challenging to look at something and say, like, this isn't serving me in the way that I would like to, but it is also feeding a particular need, or it is also something that really sort of touches me in a way that is hard to let go of. And I want to talk a bit about like how we can sort of put some of this stuff into context, but I also want to make sure that we're not invalidating the connection that you have with this person, right? And that it's not that you're like trying to give up something that should be easy to give up and you're somehow like failing at this, right? Like, this type of connection is real, even if it is only sexual, right? It is powerful, even if it is only, as you put it, surface level. And the idea that like you can just kind of drop something like this without some work or without some heartache or without some challenge isn't real, right? That's not an expectation that we should have of ourselves. Like, yeah, absolutely. This is hard, or this feels hard for you because it is hard. And Sierra and I are going to offer some ways to maybe reframe, or some practices to try to help make this a little bit smoother. But just want to name that this is something that I don't think, I want to name that this is something that is challenging and that we're here with you for it. And we'll get into some of our advice and musings in just a second. We're going to take a short break.
All right, my darling, thank you so much for writing and for trusting us with this letter. I want to echo what Sam said and acknowledge that there are good things happening here with your relationship with this person. What I want you to do with me, either right now or after this episode, is I want you to take a moment to catalog what is keeping you in this engagement or in, long distance, non-committed relationship, or I don't know how you're labeling it, but like what's keeping you here, Before I continue, I want to say, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with this relationship, except for the fact that it sounds like it is taking up space in your life in a way that may be preventing an in-person connection with somebody that you might subconsciously want more than a long-distance connection. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so if you feel differently, that is totally okay with me. But it just, as you said in your letter, it sounds like, you've got this thing going on with G, and it feels unfair to the people that you're dating in real life to keep going with both of them. So you're choosing the long distance one. And if that's what you want, that's totally fine with me. But it also sounds like you are grappling with this, understanding of yourself that you deserve constant and present love, partnership. You want to build towards something, I think. And I have no problem with you continuing this relationship with G. I also want to say that sometimes we can only balance so much in our energy. And there was a time in my life that I had to choose to close certain doors to pursue my, the longer goals that I had. The doors that were closer to me that would give me that immediate affirmation or that immediate connection. I needed to close them fully so that I could more fully pursue those longer term goals, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So that's the direction that I'm coming at this from, is that it sounds like this is a good thing, but it also sounds like it is in the place of something else right now. Mm-hmm. Right? Do you feel that way, or are you interpreting this a little differently?
No, I agree with you totally. And I also think that this is getting in the way of you pursuing something that I think you are saying that you want, right? Which is a relationship that is more sustainable than just a long distance relationship with someone that is entirely sexual. Which again, there's no problem with that being something that you want to pursue. That's great. But it sounds like that's not what you want. And so how do we focus on the things that we want rather than the things that are most immediately present for us?
Yes. Yeah. Which is really scary to do. It can be really scary to look connection in the eye or look affirmation in the eye and say, no, I don't want you right now. It can be really challenging to our egos and our sense of selves and our insecurities and our wounds to look at something that could soothe us in the immediate moment and say, nope, I got to lean into the discomfort to find something that will soothe me in a more sustainable way, like Sam said. So back to my original question, I want you to catalog or write down or acknowledge what is keeping you here in this relationship with G. And to me, it sounds like good things. You feel really authentic, right, in this relationship. You feel really accepted and seen for who you are as a person, who you are as a sexual being. And that's really important. It's also reciprocated to an extent. You pointed out that this person is not consistent and a little flaky at getting back to you. But when he does get back to you, it's really great. And there's obviously a sexual connection here where you guys both enjoy each other's sexual company. So it's reciprocated to an extent. And I also will say another thing that's probably keeping you here subconsciously is that there are low stakes, right? Having somebody, and this is not a bad thing, this is just a fact, having somebody that far away, it's you don't have to deal with the mess of waking up and smelling somebody's morning breath, or dealing with their family, or dealing with their baggage or their work schedule or whatever. This is not a bad thing. Honestly, I encourage people to look for low stakes relationships, when that's all they can handle, because, or if they just want to,
Yeah, for sure.
because there's no hierarchy in the steaks department. But just pointing out that like that might be a reason why you keep going back to G, because you don't have to dive deeper into that connection to risk rejection or complication or miscommunication. You know what I mean? Like, and the reason why I want you to catalog all the reasons why you're still here is because I want you to ask yourself, what of these things is a reasonable thing to ask of the people in my real everyday IRL life. That's very hard to say. IRL life. And what might I be avoiding? For example, I love how accepted and seen and desired you feel by G. I also think that there is a world in which you could risk that potential rejection and also risk that huge reward of sharing that authenticity with somebody IRL, like that. G doesn't accept you just because you are virtual and a continent away. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that might feel really special to G, and it might feel very special to the story of your life, the story of your experience. But I don't think it's special to him. I think that there are other people out there that will love and want to explore this part of your sexuality that you haven't felt safe
for sure
communicating. That being said, this is easier said than done. It's more complicated than I'm making it sound. I know that there's a lot of sexual shame out there, and it is sometimes easier to overcome those sort of feelings with that distance that you and G have. But I think that you could find these things in other people if you wanted to. I also want to just say, I think your history of codependency might be painting this relationship a little shinier than it is.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm reading into this a lot. Like I'm just basing it off of what you said, but I'm not trying to trash this relationship. I think this could be a great thing in your life. It also sounds like it's taking up a lot of space in your life, where what you really want, an in-person committed partnership, it's taking up the space of that. It's taking up that time and energy,
Yeah, because you're literally breaking up with people because you don't want to give up talking to G, right? So it is like you have identified that it is something that is impacting your ability to have in-person relationships. And again, if you only want to have long distance sexual relationships with people for the rest of your life, great, right? And the cult of monogamy, right, is really intense. So I think it's worth you thinking about whether or not in-person monogamy is the thing that you want, because it might not be, and that's okay, right? That's really great.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I think what I really liked about what Sierra said is this idea of naming some of these things for yourself to get rid of the weird sort of intoxication piece of this, right? It's not that you can't quit this man because he is the most special person in the world and you two are fated to be together, right? Sierra listed a number of reasons why this relationship probably feels like it's easy to come back to, or that it is something that is sort of intoxicating in some way. And even the idea of of even thinking about the ways in which our brain chemistry responds to the type of stimulus that you're getting from this relationship might be helpful too, right? To think about yeah, absolutely. I react with joy when he texts because, right? Dopamine gets released in our heads when we get notifications from people. It is literally a brain chemistry thing that happens, right? It's not that he is so beautiful and magical that he is causing this reaction in you. It's this is our body's response to these types of things. And I say that because I think it's easier to move away from people when we sort of strip away this this cloak of like mysteriousness or like cosmic connection, and instead look at it as being like, no, this is a person who is offering me this type of relationship, which is easy and fun and enough that I get hooked, but not enough for me to like recognize that there's challenges in it, right? And I'm experiencing it through this particular mode of communication, which is also very much like a gamified sim, like I get an immediate response, or, you know, like I get a rush of emotion when they finally come in, which I wouldn't if I was annoyed that my partner was still using the bathroom, right? Like there's so many different ways in which the particular context of this scenario are designed to make your brain and heart go like haywire in ways that getting dinner with someone who you met on an app and who also like makes boxes for a living might not have the same response, right? I literally one time was at a bar and I sat next to a couple who were on their first date, and all that he talked about was the fact that he makes cardboard boxes. Like that was his job. He like ran a factory where they made different sizes of cardboard boxes, and she was asking him questions and he was answering all of those questions, and I was like, this is the most boring date I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, why is this man only talking about making cardboard boxes? And this poor woman just like kept asking him questions.
That's okay.
And maybe she was actually really interested in it. I was like, you have asked way more questions about cardboard boxes than I could have thought of. So maybe you are really interested in it. Maybe logistics is your thing. But it was, I always think about that when I think about like what like a boring first date could look like. If you make cardboard boxes out there, that's great. Talk about it all that you want. I'm sorry that I shamed you in this way. But I just want to like name some of that stuff because often I think we get the circumstances that create a particular response confused with the person who we think is like uniquely causing that response. And so when like that text message comes in for you and you get that flood of emotion, right? I want you to like sit in it and name what it is instead of being like, whoa. I want you to be like, oh yes, okay, there's that familiar feeling that's coming up. And I know that it's caused by like the lack of attention that I get from this person, right? Not because they're like beautiful and amazing and our like cosmic hearts touch each other when we text, right? But instead, like,
I think that is such a good, so valuable what you're saying right now.
So that then you can make some more informed decisions about where you want to spend your time and energy, right? So you can say, yeah, I'm not getting the zing with this person who's right in front of me in the same way that I'm getting the zing from this person. But that's because this situation isn't designed for the zing. It's designed for something that may be more nutritious, that may be more adaptable to what I need out of a relationship, that may be more supportive in different ways besides just sexually, which is what I'm looking for. So that, again, it's just like taking this man off of the giant like planet that he's operating on in your cosmos and being like, oh no, he's just another person here on Earth. He just happens to be 1,000 miles away as opposed to this person who's sitting right in front of me.
I think that's perfect. I think that's so, honestly, whether or not we are right when it comes to this relationship and its place in your life, what's valuable about what Sam just said is how to, you know, interpret some of that physical, nervous system response when we're engaging with somebody, especially when our senses of selves, our sense of our desirability, our feelings of our self-worth are entangled with that person's, say, text message or sexy comments. You know what I mean?
I do, yes.
It's really helpful even for me to hear you say, like, of course it feels this way because it is, you know, even like the ding on our phones or you have a new message alert on our phones is gamified. It's meant to make us feel like a sense of urgency and a sense of excitement to look at that unread message.
Yes, absolutely.
Anywho, maybe some of this will give you some perspective about how to move forward with this long distance situationship thing. and maybe it won't.
Who knows?
Good luck. Yeah. We love you so much, and we really hope that this helps.
We do. Thank you so much for writing. We love you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like ad-free episodes, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship memes, and most importantly, you could submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his podcasts. And remember, sometimes we do have to close a door, even if it makes us feel good, even if it's not actively hurting us as a door. Sometimes we need to close a door to access the right door, the door that's farther down the hallway or through another path. It's hard, but we are capable of making those hard decisions. And if all else fails,
just break up.